Beetle Boy, Chapter 14, Part 2, page 199. Turning a corner, the hallway continued. To the right was a white door. He tried it, and it opened. Cautiously peering in, Darkus saw a wall of subdued green light divided into rectangles. He felt for the light switch, and the strip lights flickered on. The room was full of tanks and aquariums, each teeming with a different species of beetle. "Baxter, look!" Darkus stepped forward, immediately recognising Darkling beetles and Darwin's beetles, the rare chestnut-brown stag with its mandibles as long as its legs, making it look like a spider in armour. And in the middle of the wall of aquariums, a yellow tank full of ladybirds the size of a 2-pence piece. So the beetle in the museum had belonged to Lucretia Cutter. The sudden light startled the beetles, and they were churned, excited to see who was responsible for the disturbance, running to the walls of their tanks and clawing at them. The Darwin's beetles bashed their antlers against the glass as if trying to get at him, and a tank of vicious-looking giant tiger beetles screeched and gnashed their mandibles together threateningly. Darkus was shocked by the howling cacophony of hisses and chirps that rose out of the aquariums, as the aggressive beetles threw themselves at the walls of their prisons, clambering over one another in their frenzied desire to get at him. These beetles were totally different from the ones in the mountain. His beetles, at Nelson's parade, were peaceful and calm. Darkus took another step forward to try and quieten the insects, but Baxter rose up off his shoulder and tugged at his jumper with his legs, pulling him away. The tank holding the Darwin's beetles shifted forward an inch, and then another, as a multitude of giant jaws hammered against the glass in unison. If it dropped off the shelf, the glass would smash and the beetles would escape. Darkus suddenly realised Baxter wasn't hissing back or readying himself to attack. He was trying to tell him to run away. The tank with the Darwins jumped forward again. Darkus spun around and ran out of the door back into the corridor. An eerie wail like the distant call of a seabird echoed up the hallway. The hairs on the back of Darkus's neck lifted, and he shivered, but he couldn't go back, so taking a deep breath, he moved forwards, towards the sound. He hoped fervently that he'd find a staircase before he encountered whatever was making that noise. But as he got closer, a tone in the mournful wail vibrated like a harp string in his chest. Tears sprang into his eyes, and he started running. The sound was a man crying, and Darkus recognised that crying with every atom of his body. "Dad!" he shouted. The crying stopped. "Dad!" "Darkus!" came a stunned reply from somewhere just ahead of him. It was the sound he'd craved for 6 torturous weeks. He'd dreamt about it. Now he was really hearing it. And the sound of that one word set fire to his soul. "Dad!" Darkus cried out, running faster. Suddenly a door to his left opened and a pair of arms reached out and grabbed him. A hand covered his mouth and an arm wrapped around his waist, lifting him off the floor. He tried to cry out and kick, but he wasn't strong enough. He was dragged backwards into a wine cellar. "Stop fighting me, boy! I've got to get you out of here before you get yourself killed!" Darkus went limp. He recognised the French accent. It was the butler. Darkus let go. Gerard let go and Darkus pulled away. "No, I'm not leaving. My dad's here. Darkus felt something strike him hard on the back of his head. His neck flamed hot and everything spun. "Forgive me," he heard the butler saying, as the world faded away. "Madame is coming, and she must not find you." Darkus felt something cold splash across his face. His eyes flickered open. His head was throbbing. "Listen, boy," said the voice of the butler. "You must get up. You are beside the servants' entrance to the towering heights at the side of the house." Darkus propped himself up on his elbows, confused. "Now you must run. Do you hear me? I cannot assist you for a second time." Before Darkus could reply, the butler had shut the door, and he heard the key turn in the lock. "No!" Darkus knelt up and beat his fists on the door. "No, Dad!" He sunk down, his head aching in his hands. "Dad!" he sobbed. He felt a tickling sensation on his neck. Baxter had hidden down the back of his jumper and was climbing out. He reached round and picked up the beetle, holding him in front of his face. "Dad's in there, Baxter, and I don't know what to do." Baxter reared up onto his back legs and nudged Darkus's cheek with the side of his horn. "Psst!" Darkus froze. "Psst! Over here!" came a loud whisper. Darcus turned to see Virginia hiding behind a row of flower pots full of the same red lilies he'd seen by the front door. "It's me," she mouthed, looking worried. "Are you okay?" He nodded dumbly, feeling a rush of warmth. He'd never been so glad to see a friend. "I knew you didn't want us to come, but we did anyway, and then I saw that butler lay you out on the floor like you were dead, and the gate opened for a delivery van, and I just had to make sure that you were—" "I'm alive," Darcus said, rubbing the tender lump on the back of his head. "Just." "Great, let's get out of here. Can you walk?" "She's got him," Darcus's voice broke. "What?" "Dad, she's got Dad." His shoulders started shaking, and he couldn't stop the hot tears spilling out of his eyes and rolling down his cheeks. "She's got my dad." "Darcus," Virginia shook him. "Pull yourself together. Listen to me. Your dad needs you to be strong. I need you to be strong. Come on, please. You won't be able to rescue him if you get yourself caught." She hauled him to his feet. "Now follow me." They reached the corner of the building. The gate was still open and less than 20 metres away. Virginia peeped round to make sure the coast was clear. "Okay, we're going to run. On 3, she whispered. 1, 2... She stopped suddenly, pushing Darcus backwards against the wall. "Get out!" Lucretia Cutter screeched as Pickering and Humphrey stumbled backwards out of towering heights. "We didn't bring a beetle," Pickering insisted. "We don't know any boys," Humphrey blustered. Lucretia Cutter poked one of her sticks into Humphrey's spongy chest. "I'm coming to get my beetles tomorrow. First thing." "Tomorrow?" Pickering blinked. "But I thought—" "Tomorrow!" The door slammed shut. The confused cousins stared at each other, then staggered down the path and out of the gate, squabbling. 3! Virginia sprinted towards the closing gate, and Darcus ran out after her. They darted through just before it clanged shut.